Welcome to Literary Journeys with River. Today, we bring you the summary of Blood Communion, a tale of Prince Lestat. Remember, this is just a summary, not the full book. If you enjoy our content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, leave a comment. It's the best way to help YouTube recommend our channel. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Lestat, the immortal vampire, introduces himself with his characteristic arrogance and charm, recalling his history and the impact of his memoirs on the Blood Communion. Now, as prince, he rules from his castle in France but harbors doubts about his role. Throughout the centuries, he has defied norms and authorities, revealing the secrets of vampires to the mortal world. Yet, he remains standing, determined to maintain order among his kind. The story he tells is not about the modern world, but about the eternal struggle of vampires for identity and survival. With his usual rebelliousness, Lestat remembers how he accepted his reign, driven by the desire to preserve his species. During a ball at his castle, Marius warns him that despite his optimism, vampires remain killers by nature. Soon, an unexpected event will disrupt his peace. Chapter 2. Lestat travels to Louisiana after receiving news of a group of dissident vampires who have terrorized an ancient immortal and desecrated his home on Rue Royale. These rebels, defying the court's authority, have destroyed a precious painting of Louis and murdered innocent mortals. Accompanied by his loyal bodyguards, Thorn and Cyril, Lestat acts swiftly. The sentence is immediate and lethal. Using the fire gift and his telekinetic power, he annihilates the transgressors without giving them a chance for redemption. However, the last question of a rebel before dying haunts him. What right does he have to rule them? With his duty fulfilled, Lestat loses himself in nostalgia, wandering the streets of New Orleans and reminiscing about his past. But his mission is not over. Now, he must venture into the heart of the swamps in search of the mysterious immortal who requested his help. Chapter 3. Lestat arrives at the majestic mansion of Dimitri Fontaine, a refined vampire of Russian-French origin. Drawn by the elegance of his home, he soon discovers in him a cultured spirit passionate about history. Fontaine reveals his past. He once served Pandora in Catherine the Great's Russia, reading philosophy to her and enlightening her with the ideals of the Enlightenment. However, the fierce Arjun, Pandora's lover, attacked him in a fit of jealousy. On the brink of death, Pandora saved him by granting him the dark blood, but Arjun swore to kill him if they ever met again. Since then, Fontaine has lived in exile, unable to join the court for fear of his enemy. Moved by his story, Lestat promises to intervene. But before departing, Fontaine confesses another loss. The New Orleans rebels murdered a mortal woman he had wished to turn into a vampire. The story is far from over, and Lestat must make difficult decisions. Chapter 4. Lestat returns to the chateau after his stay in Louisiana, crossing the Atlantic in record time. He finds the court in a state of tense calm, with Marius silent after Arjun's death. Before addressing the conflict, he reflects on the restoration of his former home, transformed into an opulent castle with a village that recreates 18th century France. He describes the crucial role of Barbara, a pragmatic vampire who has structured life in the court, organizing residents, servants, and records. As he explores the castle, he relives memories of his mortal life and the Theatre de Vampires. However, the sense of order and stability is deceptive. The court's foundations tremble due to internal tensions, Arjun's recent murder, and the looming threat of ancient vampires. Lestat prepares to face the coming storm. Chapter 5. Lestat convenes the court council to clarify Arjun's death. Marius, visibly disturbed, confesses to destroying him after an altercation in which Arjun tried to take Pandora against her will. Although Marius insists on being judged for breaking the vampire law against killing fellow immortals, the council absolves him. Pandora, relieved by the death of her pursuer, admits she could not free herself. As the meeting progresses, Gregory introduces an even more troubling issue, the growing threat of Rashamandas. Despite the apparent truce with him, his ominous presence and latent hostility make him an imminent danger. Lestat, still reluctant to order his execution, faces pressure from the council. However, he decides to postpone the decision until his return from Louisiana, where he plans to bring Dimitri Fontaine to the court. Chapter 6. The council insists on Rachamanda's destruction, arguing that his presence has become dangerous. Capitria and Amel recount how the ancient vampire has been stalking the children of Atlantis, invading their private spaces, and leaving them in a constant state of fear. Amel, who once incited Rachamandas to kill Maharet, now pleads for his destruction. Lestat, torn between his sense of justice and the need to protect the court, is reluctant to order his death. Severine argues that Rachamandas is losing control, especially due to his jealousy toward Lestat and Benedict's attraction to him. Despite the pressure, Lestat decides to postpone the execution. Before departing for Louisiana, he meets with Pandora, who gives her approval to bring Fontaine to the court. With Rachamanda's fate still uncertain, Lestat prepares for his next challenge. Chapter 7. Lestat and his companions arrive at Fontaine's imposing house, but something feels wrong. Upon entering, Fontaine tries to warn him with a glance, but it is too late. A ferocious roar shakes the room, and suddenly, a fire erupts. Engulfed in flames, Lestat is rescued by Thorn, who carries him and Fontaine away, soaring through the night sky at breathtaking speed. When he awakens in the chateau, he finds Fontaine gravely wounded. Pandora and other elders attempt to heal him with their blood. The attacker, Bodwin, an ancient vampire, has made his hatred for the court clear. The destruction of Fontaine's home marks an unprecedented assault. Gregory and the others discuss his possible connection to an old blood drinker named Gundesanth, but answers remain scarce. Exhausted, Lestat falls asleep with a growing desire for vengeance against Bodwin. Chapter 8. Cyril returns with Bodwin, bound in iron bars that suppress his power. In the dungeon, the vampires interrogate him, but Bodwin only expresses contempt for the court and its prince. He claims that his creator, Gundesanth, will come to avenge him. However, Gregory doubts his story and suspects he is lying. Lestat attempts to read his blood, but something in Bodwin causes him a terrible illness, forcing him to vomit. This poisoning weakens him, and Marius decides to imprison Bodwin in a cell until his fate is decided. Cyril reassures Lestat and leads him to rest, assuring him that no enemy will be able to kill him. Lestat falls into a deep sleep, still sensing the lingering threat of Bodwin and his mysterious creator. Chapter 9. Lestat awakens feeling nauseated from Bodwin's blood. In his chamber, Gregory appears in his original form, majestic and ancient, with long hair and a beard. He offers his blood to Lestat, who accepts and falls into a deep trance. Through it, he witnesses memories of Nebaman and Gundesanth in the past, when the vampire world was still governed by ancient laws. He sees their friendship, their doubts, and their growing distance from the gods of the blood. Upon waking, Lestat feels a renewed strength. Gregory explains that he came to help him because he understands his internal conflict over violence and punishing the court's enemies. Lestat is unsure what to do with Bodwin, but Gregory reminds him that he must be strong. With this newfound clarity, Lestat prepares for the impending trial. Chapter 10. Lestat and Gregory enter the Grand Hall, where Benedict, in a solemn act, has brought forth a throne for the prince. Aware of his guilt in Maharet's death, Benedict announces that his existence has come to an end. He wishes to donate his blood to the court before departing. His speech resonates with everyone. He warns that love and companionship are essential for vampires, and that solitude is their greatest enemy. Armand, furious, accuses him of cowardice for having served Rachamandas, Maharet's murderer. Benedict does not defend himself and admits his mistake. He asks that his blood be preserved, not destroyed by fire. Without another word, he leaves the hall, leaving everyone in shock. The court prepares for his sacrifice, while Lestat watches, uncertain about the fate of a vampire who has chosen to accept his end. Chapter 11. The gathering in the ballroom turns into a macabre event as Benedict, surrounded by a crowd of vampires, announces his intention to offer his blood to the youngest among them. In a ritual gesture, he gouges out his own eyes and hands them to Farid before slicing open his flesh with a knife. The fledglings surround him, drinking his ancient blood while the orchestra plays a funeral hymn. Lestat, horrified, watches as Benedict's remains are scattered and thrown into the fireplace. The spectacle ends in a frenzy of dancing as the music turns wild. Amidst the celebration, Lestat feels the weight of his species' brutality. The arrival of Rashamandas interrupts the ceremony, bringing an air of tension and danger. Chapter 12. Rashamandas enters the hall and stares at Benedict's remains consumed by fire. Alessandra offers him the blood-stained robe of his former companion, but he barely reacts. The tragedy finally breaks him, and he lets out a heart-wrenching scream, accusing Lestat and his court of robbing him of Benedict. In a desperate gesture, he picks up the charred skull and reduces it to dust in his hands. In an instant, a blast of wind and an explosion of rage shake the room. When everything calms, Rashamandas has vanished. Lestat tries to regain his composure, but the turmoil has just begun. Moments later, they make a chilling discovery. Rashamandas has taken Gabrielle. Horror grips Lestat's heart as he is left in stunned silence, realizing his mother has been taken from his side. Chapter 13. Desperation takes hold of the court when they discover Gabrielle has been kidnapped. Armand and the others attempt to track Rashamandas but find no trace of him. Lestat sinks into deep anguish, convinced that his mother has already been destroyed. Unable to do anything, he sits on his golden throne, his mind flooded with memories of Gabrielle. Severine and Seth launch a search but find no leads. Lestat feels paralyzed, his world crumbling around him. As night falls, Gregory and the children of Atlantis take drastic measures. They track Rashamandas' finances, freezing his accounts and stripping him of his wealth. But even this blow is not enough to ease Lestat's suffering, as he cannot conceive of a future without his mother. Chapter 14. As dawn approaches, the court retreats to their crypts. Lestat, drowning in despair, is unable to sleep until Gregory casts a spell on him. However, his rest is interrupted by the arrival of a sinister package. Inside, they find a vial of ashes, Gabrielle's coat, and a lock of her hair. Lestat feels his world collapse. Gregory and the others try to remain calm, assuring him that Rashamandas will attempt to negotiate. But suddenly, an explosion shakes the castle. A sudden attack sets the village ablaze, and amid the chaos, Louis is kidnapped. Lestat barely has time to react, caught in a whirlwind of horror. His beloved has been taken, and his fury begins to transform into an unrelenting thirst for vengeance. Chapter 15. With Louis in Rashamanda's hands, despair takes hold of Lestat and his followers. As the castle recovers from the attack, another package is delivered. This time, it contains a vial of ashes and Louis's emerald ring. The message is clear: Rashamandas has ended him. Armand sinks into grief and guilt, while Marius struggles to maintain control of the situation. Amid the sorrow, the fledgling Marie arrives with news about the enemy, but any hope seems to fade. Marius and the others reinforce the castle's defenses, but as night falls, Rashamandas strikes again. His presence is inescapable, and his thirst for vengeance remains unquenched. Chapter 16. Amid the devastation of the chateau, Lestat cradles Sibel in his arms while the court struggles to recover from Rashamanda's attack. Armand, enraged, blames him for the entire tragedy. Marius has been captured, and the weight of war falls upon them all. Lestat makes a decision. He will surrender himself to Rashamandas to negotiate peace. His plan is simple: to speak with him before dying, convinced that his words will be enough. Though the court opposes his choice, Rashamandas agrees to the deal on one condition: no one must intervene when he comes to claim Lestat. Amid pleas and warnings, Lestat stands firm, believing his sacrifice will bring an end to the conflict. At dawn, he prepares for his fate, certain that his decision is irrevocable. Chapter 17. Lestat ascends the northwest tower, waiting for Rashamandas beneath the falling snow. However, the court breaks its promise and attacks the ancient vampire with fire. Rashamandas survives and, in an instant, captures Lestat, carrying him away at superhuman speed. The battle is left behind as they soar through the night sky. Lestat attempts to reason with his captor, assuring him that he did not betray him. Rashamandas scoffs, saying he had anticipated this outcome. With a simple telepathic command, he forces Lestat into sleep and transports him to his hidden sanctuary. When Lestat awakens on a remote Pacific island, he is disoriented and weak. Rashamandas confronts him, mocking his attempt at diplomacy. Though weakened, Lestat feigns submission, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Chapter 18. In a sudden burst of ferocity, Lestat lunges at Rashamandas, headbutting him and breaking his nose. With lethal speed, he drives his thumbs into his enemy's eyes, blinding him completely. Then he engulfs Rashamandas in flames, watching as he writhes in agony. With a decisive strike, he severs his head. The victory is brutal. Lestat drinks his blood, absorbing his power, consumed by the intensity of the act. Carrying the remains of his enemy, he escapes the island. Strengthened by his triumph, he soars through the sky toward home, driven by the desire to return. As the chateau comes into view, his telepathic voice announces his return. Lestat lands, staggering but alive. The court erupts in celebration. He drops Rashamandas' corpse before them and declares his victory. Chapter 19. Lestat is proclaimed victorious. The court bursts into cries of triumph, solidifying his authority. However, the crowd demands the execution of Bodwin, the traitor who attempted to kill him. His creator, Gundesanth, unexpectedly appears, refusing to avenge him and instead condemning him to death. With solemnity, he himself beheads Bodwin and raises his severed head before the court. The act strengthens everyone's loyalty to Lestat. Amid the frenzy, Gundesanth approaches and presents Lestat with a ring bearing the image of Medusa, kissing him as a sign of respect. Exhausted, Lestat is taken to his crypt. Before falling asleep, his mind is haunted by visions of Rashamandas burning and by Gundesanth's words, hinting at a new revelation for the blood drinkers. A disturbing thought lingers. What does his victory truly mean? Chapter 20. Lestat awakens with the unsettling feeling of having lost himself in an important web of dreams. The reconstruction of the chateau and village becomes his priority, prompting him to contact architects and transfer funds. While inspecting the crypts with Barbara, he fights off despair, recalling Marius, Louis, and Gabrielle. Amel and Capitria establish their colony in England, and Gregory departs to assist them, taking Santh with him, who insists on being called by this name to erase his dark past. Lestat finds Armand in his apartment, alongside Sibel and Benji. The tension between them is palpable. Armand accuses him of allowing Rashamandas to live out of vanity, which led to the loss of Marius, Louis, and Gabrielle. He urges Lestat to destroy the Replamoids and eliminate Amel's body. Lestat listens in silence, unable to defend himself. He knows the court needs him, but the weight of his losses consumes him. Chapter 21. Driven by Rashamanda's last words, Lestat gathers Gregory, Santh, and others to investigate his former properties. They discover an abandoned house in the vineyards, where suspicious steel plates are found. Santh, with his acute hearing, detects the sound of heartbeats underground. Following the sound, they arrive at the ruins of a chapel and uncover a newly installed steel door. As they descend, they find a dungeon filled with iron coffins. Inside, they find Gabrielle, Louis, and Marius imprisoned, their bodies wrapped in steel with their necks broken. Farid arrives to examine them, managing to revive Marius first, who reaffirms his trust in Lestat. Finally, Gabrielle and Louis regain consciousness, though they remain weak. The relief is immense. Rashamandas had held them captive, but now they are safe. Exhausted, Lestat knows there is still much to be done. Chapter 22. Lestat arrives at the chateau amid a crowd of vampires celebrating his victory. Marius recounts the events cleverly, omitting details about the weakened state of the former prisoners. The crowd hails Lestat as the spoiled prince, but Marius reminds them that he is also the leader of the court. He announces a grand ball in 10 nights, once the castle is restored. Meanwhile, Lestat is caught up in administrative matters, approving restorations and improvements. Gregory presents him with a dilemma. Young vampires need to feed, and without prisoners in the dungeons, they may wreak havoc in nearby cities. Lestat hesitates but understands the need to provide sustenance for the growing community. He reflects on his past as a rock star and his relationship with humanity, feeling the weight of his position. Louis and Gabrielle reassure him that he is not alone in this new era. Chapter 23. 3 nights later, the chateau's dungeons are filled with criminals from around the world. Lestat has decreed that these mortals will serve as a food source for young vampires, but under strict rules. There will be no cruel spectacles or ritualistic killings. Feeding will take place in a private hall, away from public view. Although he convinces himself that this is the only solution, he feels the burden of his decision. He knows the court cannot become a realm of barbarism and that he must set limits to prevent immortality from becoming an excuse for chaos. The castle now houses both blood drinkers and their prey, and while everything seems in order, Lestat cannot shake the feeling that he may have taken the wrong path. Chapter 24. Lestat visits Capitria in England, where the Replomoids have found a safe home. Capitria explains her cloning experiments, revealing that with each generation, her descendants lose knowledge and purpose. Lestat is horrified to learn that the 10th generation is a perfect slave, devoid of free will. The conversation shifts to Amel, who, despite his enthusiasm for life, has deficiencies in his physical form. Capitria acknowledges that Amel admires Lestat because he can keep up with him mentally. Uneasy, Lestat returns to the chateau and finds that the vampire community continues to grow. Louis has grown close to Fontaine, and Reconstruction is progressing rapidly. During a celebration, his architect, Alain, confesses that he wishes to stay. Moved by his loyalty, Lestat decides to grant him the dark gift, ensuring that he will never have to leave. Chapter 25. As the winter solstice ball approaches, the chateau fills with vampires from all over the world. The Grand Sovereign sends exquisite clothing, and excitement builds. Farid estimates that the vampire community now numbers 3,000, though most remain a mystery. Lestat feels an inexplicable unease, as if something inside him is changing. The night before the ball, Marius unveils his masterpiece. A fresco on the ballroom ceiling depicting the history of vampires in a grand circle, with each key figure, including Claudia. At the center is Lestat, crowned as prince. Embarrassed by the image of himself, he feels a strange sense of anticipation and fear. Though the court is thriving, Lestat wonders what is truly changing within him. Chapter 26. The night of the grand ball has arrived. The chateau glows with the splendor of its restoration, and the ballroom fills with immortals dressed in exquisite attire. Lestat, unsettled by the prominence of his throne and his image on the ceiling, watches as guests arrive in droves. Vampires of all ages, from young fledglings to unknown ancients, present themselves before him, kissing his ring in a gesture of respect. His mother, Gabrielle, appears radiant, taking her place beside him as the Queen Mother. The music swells, and she invites him to dance, marking the beginning of an unprecedented celebration. Powerful ancients like Jabbar arrive to pay him homage. Marius delivers a speech revealing Lestat's true achievement, his willingness to die for the court. In that moment, Lestat realizes he has finally attained what he always desired: recognition, meaning, and a purpose alongside his tribe. Thanks for watching this summary of Blood Communion, a tale of Prince Lestat. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. Now tell me in the comments, who is your favorite character in this book? What book would you like us to summarize next?